Hey, everybody. I hope you are all doing well. I am just kind of getting some stuff settled here, going live. Um, I think sometimes my audio doesn't work and it makes me think, like, what is going on here? So, if you can let me know whether or not you can hear my audio, that would be super duper helpful. I think it is working, which is great. Yay. All right, cool. So what I wanted to share with you all today is how 6 months of no bookings changed my wedding photography business for the better. And I think this is a really timely topic because I think a lot of us are enduring a slow booking season right now. I've seen it in online Facebook groups. I've talked about it with friends of mine. And I don't think that necessarily anybody's doing anything wrong. I think that these things just happen in business. And of course, like we always need to be analyzing what we could or should be doing better. We need to be analyzing how we're showing up. We need to be analyzing what we're offering. We need to be willing to pivot and to change. But I think also sometimes like the market is just a little weird. And like we just kind of have to ride the wave. And although I'm not necessarily experiencing what is happening right now in the industry, I have experienced this in the past. And it was a really difficult lesson to learn. It was a really hard season for me to go through in my business. And it was a really hard season, not only to go through professionally, but also for me to go through personally. Because I had put so much stock in my business and how well it was doing. And I associated that with my own personal self worth. Going through a season where I had no bookings for 6 months was really very jarring. And it made me almost like honestly hang up the towel. Like I was kind of like, well, it is what it is. And like, if nobody's booking me, then I guess my business is done for. And what I will tell you is that when this happened, nothing was really crazy going on in the market. Nothing felt super heavy in the market. Nothing terrible was going on. It was seemed like a very normal wedding year. It was also something where I wasn't doing things like how I do now. Like I'm very vocal about different things that I believe about my own personal ethics around running a business and also being a person. And so it's not like I was sharing stuff that people could be like, oh, like this is, something I don't believe in. So I'm not going to buy into this particular business. But what happened was that I went through a season of not getting any new bookings for 6 months. And so that looked like no new bookings for the following year. And that looked like no new bookings for the current year. And I was literally dumbfounded because at the time, my business was used to easily getting bookings and inquiries, easily converting any inquiries into bookings. And I was also used to just having like a steady influx. It was something where there was nothing that could have preceded what happened to me, where I could have predicted, oh, I'm not going to get bookings for a little bit of time. And it made me feel awful. And honestly, when I'm looking back at it now, I still don't know what happened. I still have no idea why I went through a season where I didn't book any weddings for 6 months. And I wasn't doing anything differently. I don't think I was doing anything wrong. I don't think I was not showing up, not being consistent. Like I was doing everything that I had always done and that had always led to bookings for me. And it just wasn't doing what it used to do. It was the weirdest thing. So it made me feel horrible. And what happened was that after 6 months of no new bookings, I then booked 7 weddings in 1 week, and actually while I was on vacation. And so it was a really weird thing. And I do think there was probably some stuff at play energetically, some stuff at play spiritually. But what I really took away from it was a lot of really good lessons learned about being in business, about being a person in business, about being an artist in business. There was a lot that I took away from this experience that has changed my business for the better. So at that time, when I was not getting any bookings for these 6 months, I was still doing everything that I continued to do before, the first thing I want to tell you is that I had other income. And that was at the time when I was working on my, like, I was still working at my 9 to 5. I was also like running my business, and it was pretty much like a full-time business. I could have left, but I chose not to. Right. Um, and the reason why I want to highlight this is because I know that because I had a 9 to 5, I wasn't necessarily in the same boat as other people who are experiencing something like this, where this is their only source of income. But at the same time, what I also want to highlight is that when you are a full-time business owner and you're experiencing a season where you're not getting the income that you need, it's not like running your business is the only way that you can get money, right? All money is green, all money is valid and valuable. So sometimes there may be seasons in your business where you have to take on things that you don't necessarily want to take on things, and you kind of have to let your ego die a little bit, right? Did I want to be full-time in my business at that point in time? Sure, that would have been so nice. But the financials and the logistics at that point in time made no sense, right? So I had to be open. I had to check my ego at the door, and I had to keep that 9 to 5. And that's just the absolute truth. You have to be willing to allow yourself to be creative about how you make money, have some ingenuity, and have some flexibility in how you make money, right? Like, your business doesn't, and honestly shouldn't, be the be all and end all, right? There is a reason why people preach multiple streams of income, and it's not in the weird like MLM way, but it's in the way that you should have multiple streams of income, because you never know what's going to happen to one of those streams of income, right? And so it doesn't make any business logistical sense to put all of your eggs into your business basket, right? You should have other streams of income aside from your business. And that may mean multiple streams of income inside of your business where you're doing more than one specific niche. Or I really think, and you should have extra streams of income that aren't even associated with your business, that can also sustain you in seasons where you're having like a lower booking season, right? When this happened to me too, I also worked extra hard on serving the clients that I did have. So I did have a few clients. They weren't new clients, they weren't new bookings, but I did have some clients on the calendar. If I remember correctly, I think I had like maybe 2 or 3. So I just worked really hard on serving them really well. And why I think that was important is that I didn't allow myself to get stuck on what I didn't have. I focused on what I did have, because I knew what I did have was good. You know, I knew the clients that I had on my roster were wonderful. I knew that serving people well would have a ripple effect in multiple ways, right? And not only like in the whole marketing and network marketing and things like that type of way, but also in just like treating people well, knowing that when I go to take care of people or when I answer emails, that I'm being my full self and loving on them, right? Because that also just feels good. But I worked extra hard on serving the clients that I did have. And I think that's something that we miss out on when we are going through low booking seasons, is that we lose sight of the clients that we do have. We lose sight of what's important for us to really be paying attention to, right? If we're going to be advertising ourselves, marketing ourselves as a very person and personhood based photographer, then if we're not going to be taking care of the clients that do end up booking us, then are we really that person that we say that we are? Are we really that business owner that we say that we are, right? If we say that we love working with people because we love people, well, are we continuing to love on the people that do actually book us, or are we too busy focusing on what's actually coming next, too busy to focus on what we already have, right? At that time too, because I had a lot of extra time, like I had my 9 to 5, but I still had a lot of extra time. I worked extra hard on updating my business systems. I didn't just sit around and waste time. I didn't wallow. I was like, well, this is weird and I'm feeling some type of way about it, but I do have this time, so I should use it, right? I didn't sit around and be like, well, I guess this is it. Like I questioned that, but I didn't sit around and waste that time. And honestly, the time that I spent updating my business systems when I was going through this low booking season prepared me for the future for when my business would explode. So if I hadn't had that time to update those systems, I am 99% sure that I would have been completely overwhelmed with the amount of bookings that I did eventually get, right? I actually look at that time as very impactful, very helpful, not only for me personally, but also for my business because I had time, which obviously when you're photographing weddings, when you're working with a lot of clients, that time is used up by those clients, which it should be. They're paying you to have you use up that time with them. But if I hadn't had that free time, I wouldn't have been able to update what I needed to update. That's when I set up my entire client management system. That's when I made significant updates to my website, and I hired a marketing team to update my website, not to actually do the marketing for me, just to update my website. That's when I created and updated my welcome guide. That's when I created schedulers for people to be able to work with me or to get on my calendar to talk about wedding consultations. This is when I implemented all the little things that I had been putting off. So instead of being like, well, nobody's booking me, I have no inquiries, I have no bookings, I have no consultations on my calendar, instead of saying like that and then just wallowing and not working on my business, I still worked on my business. I still acted like I had a successful business because I knew that if I didn't act like I had a successful business, I would not have a successful business in the long run. And then also, the biggest thing and the most powerful thing that I think actually came out of me not booking weddings for a significant amount of time was that I released the control of my business. I honestly would get into the shower every single day and I would say, you know what? This business isn't even mine. If it works, great. If it doesn't, great, because it's going to be either this or something better, right? And so I stopped holding my business so tightly. And when I released the control of that, and when I just knew that I was doing everything that I needed to be doing, I was doing everything right, right? I knew I was being incredibly consistent. I knew I was laying groundworks and frameworks for the future. I knew that I was doing everything I needed to be doing. And so because of that, I released the control, right? I released it. I couldn't let it take up as much space as I had let it take up in the past. I couldn't allow it to fuel my anxiety. I couldn't allow it to make me feel bad about myself. I had to realize that if I was doing everything I possibly could in my power to make sure that things would move forward, that's all I could ask of myself, right? I didn't need to be sitting here spinning my wheels. I didn't need to be sitting here acting like poor me. It didn't need to happen, right? So I did what I knew I needed to do. And I trusted that what I needed to do was what needed to happen. And so that allowed me to release the control of my business. Now, let me tell you, that is very difficult. It is very difficult. Even when you have another source of income, it is very difficult to release the control of your business. It is very difficult to, do everything you need to be doing, do what you need to be doing, to be focusing and working and not seeing the results, right? And then thinking like, what can I do better? How can I move this forward, right? And it's a control thing. It's a control thing where you think like, I'm doing everything that I possibly can. What else can I add? Why isn't this moving forward? But honestly, that sense of control a lot of the time is why businesses don't move forward, because that sense of control is innately linked to your own sense of personhood, and that sense of personhood influences how you move about your life, which also includes how you move about your business. And if you're holding stuff too close, if you're trying to control everything that happens in your business, you can only do what you can do, then you're just going to hold your business with a closed fist. And what grows in that? Nothing, right? If you were to put a seed in your hand and try to make it grow, it wouldn't grow. You actually need to put it in the ground and trust that it will grow, right? You can't be holding it. It has to go somewhere else. And that's the same with your business. Now, why these things helped me, even though it was a really hard season to go through, I hated that season. And I'm thankful for it. Two things can be true. I kind of alluded to some of these before, but I want to talk about them a little bit more. So honestly, like I said before, I took that time to implement a lot of things that I have been kind of putting on the back burner, right? So implementing these things that I have been putting on the back burner prepared me for the future boom that I saw in my business and set me up for my current success. If I had not had those 6 months of no wedding bookings, and if I had not used that time wisely, I do not think I would be as confident and comfortable in my business as I currently am. That is the absolute truth, because my systems wouldn't have been set up. My marketing assets wouldn't have been set up. I would be trying to scramble to make sure everything worked now while having a full and robust roster of clients. When I didn't have a full roster of clients, I was able to work on these things and still serve the clients that I had really well at that time. Now, I don't think I could do both of those things at the same time. Also, why this helped me in the long run is that it disconnected my sense of self-worth from the success of my business. And that is something that us entrepreneurs, especially artistic entrepreneurs, really struggle with. We struggle with disconnecting who we are away from who we are as the business owner, right? Or who we are as the business, right? We struggle with feeling like if our business fails, then we are failing. And that is not true, right? All of life is an experience and an experiment, right? Everything you do has no guarantee that it will succeed. But for some reason, we think that in being business owners and in being in business, that we are automatically guaranteed success. That is not true. And that's a hard thing. That's a really hard thing. But if I had not taken hold of that idea that my business success does not equal my personal success or my sense of self-worth or my sense of just being a good human, if I had not taken hold of that, I don't even know where my business would be now, honestly. I have to be honest, because what happens when we equate our business success with our own sense of self-worth and our own self-worth success is that our anxiety is just completely wrapped up in how successful we believe our business is going to be or continues to be. And what I've also seen too in situations like this is that when we are too focused on our own business and how it succeeds, we stake so much self-worth on the success of our business that we lose our entire identity in our business. And what happens when we retire? When we have to shut our business down, when we have medical issues, when maybe the joy is gone and it's just time, right? To just shut things down, right? Businesses end. Businesses get sold. Businesses change, right? And your own sensibilities and what you desire for your life will change as you get older and as you change, right? And so what happens when you've tied your entire sense of self up in your business and then it's just time for it to end? Then who are you? You don't know, right? And so I now feel very confident that in the future, when I'm older and the time for this business is done, I am not going to feel such a large sense of loss, but I'm going to be able to celebrate what I accomplished when I accomplished it, right? We shouldn't be having to worry about having to grieve our sense of self when our businesses end, when they close, when they get sold, when they change, right? And then I also think one of the biggest things here is that when I had this time of no bookings for 6 months, it allowed me to have a more curious outlook. And like I mentioned before, a softer grip on my business, which now enables me to be less critical of myself, my clients, and other photographers. What I have seen in the wedding industry, and especially with wedding photographers, although I will say that is my frame of reference is wedding photography. But what I have seen is that there is more judgment than curiosity on all sides, right? If you're a wedding photographer, it is very, very, very common to be in spaces where the other wedding photographers judge themselves, judge other photographers, judge their clients, judge other people's clients, and somebody always has something to say about somebody. And when you go through a season of not booking and you start to look inward and you start to be self-analytical and you start to ask yourself the questions of how can I get curious about what's happening in my business, you literally don't have capacity to worry about what's going on around you. You literally have no stake in what other photographers are doing. You may see them and be like, oh, they're succeeding, and be curious about their success, but you will no longer be judgmental of their success. And I think this lack of criticism in my life, number one, has really positively influenced my business. It's positively influenced my team. And it has really positively influenced my own mental health because I'm curious and I'm analytical about what's going on in business. I am no longer judgmental and think that I have all the answers. And that sucks to go through. It sucks to learn this lesson the hard way. It really does, but it's worth it. And I do believe that a lot of us will go through seasons like this when we need to go through seasons like this to learn the lessons that we need to learn, because oftentimes we don't learn the lessons from people just telling them to us. We learn the lessons from going through the thing that needed to teach us a lesson. So I hope that was helpful to know some of my own experience and to see this sense of transparency, and to also know that just because you're going through a slow booking season right now, that doesn't mean it's going to be for forever. And to ask yourself, what lessons is this teaching you? What lessons is this season trying to teach you? So that's everything I have for you for today. I hope you all have a beautiful week ahead, and I will chat with you all soon.